Hey, we said it from the beginning, man. This is everything we wanted come December. Yep. This is it. We got to focus these next 2 weeks so we can get down with the we've been talking about since April. Yep. Hey, back to work Tuesday. Hey, family on 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey.
Let's go. Come on. Everybody get your hands up. We got the V-I-C-T-O-R-Y. Ladies.
I lost, but actually I won.
For by his blood, we all have overcome. There is no failure. Our God can never lose. Hey, and that same power, it now belongs to you. Now it's time to celebrate, all banners raised. Because the devil is defeated and God be praised. Every situation I face, I win. Yeah. And everything works for my good in the end. Ladies, say
I was on my way to a burning hell.
Lord.
The devil,
He had
he had
my life set up to fail.
set up to fail.
Hey. Oh my God.
My God who causes me to
Triumph. Overcome. Triumph. Now it's time to celebrate, all banners raised. Get 'em up. Because the devil is defeated and God be praised. Hallelujah. Every situation I face, I win. And everything works for my good in the end. Listen, somebody who's listening, right now you think you're losing. Listen, you feel like you can't win. Why? Greater is He. Woo. Don't doubt, 'cause whatever you're in now, God says you have to come out. Come out of depression. Come out of low self-esteem. Come out of poverty. Come out of lesbianism. Come out of homosexuality. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Wow. Now it's time to celebrate, all banners raised. I got the victory. Because the devil is defeated and God be praised. Every situation I face, I win. I got the victory. And everything works for my good in the end. Say it with a shout. Come on. I got the victory. The victory. Ooh. I got the victory. The victory. Real loud. Come on. I got the victory. The victory. I got the. Everybody just dance with us. Dance. One more time. Come on. I got the victory. I got the victory. Come on, get your hands up. I got the victory. Come on. Let's go. Everybody sing along with us like this. Sing it. We gonna do this for my man Kenny. Come on. Let's go.
Hey now. Come on, talk to me this morning. I see y'all already talking in the chat. Talk to me this morning. Yes, sir. Victory, and victory. Yes. Turn it up in here. I got on different headphones, so I might sound like I'm screaming at y'all. But as I always tell you, turn your stuff down at work. Because this morning, of all mornings is the greatest morning that ever was. Why? Because it's Victory Monday, baby. Man, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate y'all. I cannot tell you how much I do. Shout out to Nerve Vash, as the real test will be against the Sea Chickens next Sunday. Can they finally solve the puzzle of dealing with success? I believe that answer is yes. We also got our first super chat. Appreciate that. Big win. We are back in the lead position with the final lap close in sight. Happy that Ransom got the game-sealing pick. Hey, man, ain't no better place to start than where to start, right? Appreciate that. So the super chat, we can start right there. Let's go ahead and get to it. I'll say hello to a couple of y'all in the chat real quick. Shout out to my dog, Panther Prime Podcast. I always see you come through showing love. I'm always showing love at your channel. I'm watching all the time. I don't always get to comment, but we definitely got a link soon. So that's something that's going to happen. My man Elaine Foster. Again, Nerve Vash, Rare Gamer. Miss Douglas, yes, Victory. Mr. Supercam, my bad. Yo. Yeah, oh, man. I see what y'all talking about with Excel already. We'll get to that. But, yes, you talked about it in the super chat. Late game heroics, man. Lathan Ransom. Late game Lathan. Late game Lathan. That's a lot to say all at once. But, hey, listen. This is going to be something that is going to be a pattern for him. We've been seeing this a couple of times. And I know, like, look, I get it. I've seen, different people having different opinions. The reporters kind of pressed him yesterday at his locker. Hey, man, how you feel about having the game-sealing interception? Considering last week when you were the GOAT, from last week or whatever like that. And to me, and I talked to Brad about this, but I'll keep it, a buck with y'all. Like, let's just keep it real. I feel differently about it personally, right? About last week. The reason is because I just like the fact that you have somebody willing to take it there. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, enough playing. Enough of it. I've had enough. I like that you got somebody that's willing to take it there. If you run and you're a quarterback, I am going to try to smoke you, period. There will be no leniency for any position. So I get it. If you want to say that game came down to the line and Lathan lost that game because of that play, then that's on you. But we're not talking that over here because we love it. Because it's somebody who recognizes who is on the other side of the line and the helmet they're wearing, the jersey they're wearing, the place you're playing. You do not want to lose that intensity if you're a young man in this league, a young player, right? And I'm glad that he didn't, because if he did and he listened to people who had this to say about it, then he wouldn't have had the gumption to make a heads-up play like he did. So I'm glad. I like his response too. He came with it. The response, it was the same.
Lathan, how fitting was it for you to end this game with an interception, given how everything went last week?
Yeah, I mean, like Mike said, I faced a lot of adversity, heard noise from everybody last week, probably some of y'all too, but you feel me? I mean, that's football at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Shake back.
Can you take me through that interception?
I got, they ran, I think it was wave. I was messed up on Mike, and, Shaw bumped him real good and got a good opportunity to read the quarterback, make a play.
What's the touchdown Sally? I wanted to ask you about that.
That's that Joker. People heard my laugh, that video, me laughing and stuff during the game. You're going to hear that when I play, and that's just, that Joker laugh.
Was Mike Scourton telling?
Oh, yeah. Probably some of y'all, too. Not the person filming. Not the person talking. That's Vashti and Sheena. They always keep it a buck. They gonna say like, hey, yeah, it was, you got to be better there. But nah. Some of y'all knew.
Nah, not this time.
Yeah, get out my face. Get out my face. I love it. I love the energy. Somebody said it right here. The bank crowd was lit. Crowd was crazy yesterday. Yes, it was. But I also love that this guy got an opportunity for the people who felt that way. Me, I didn't feel that way, period. Like I said, I was glad, personally. That's just me, right? But I loved it. But I'm glad that he got a chance to come back and redeem himself on, like I said, a heads-up play that put him in position to make this and seal the game. Game-winning interception. Huge for him. Seen the same thing he done in the preseason, right? Not a game sealer, but got one nonetheless, right? Shout out my boy Pop. Yeah, Dan Morgan for president, all that. But yeah, I wanted to start off there because I loved what I saw, man. I mean, this, the defense, man, and we'll get a little bit deeper, deep dive this a little bit more. It's just all energy right now. But this defense, man, like, boy, it's bend and don't break, ain't it? Bend and don't break. We got a lot of holes, but I said something yesterday, and I meant this, and I'm going to pull this up. I mentioned how for all intents and purposes, I'm so glad. Look, Dave and Dan, we got needs. But boy, y'all put together a hell of a group. Y'all really did, man. These guys fight, man. These guys are young. They're scrappy. These veterans are scrappy. You know how easy it is if you're Derek Brown and you've been here for all these years just to mail it in? Man, I got paid. We seen that once upon a time, Albert Haynesworth, even though he went to a different team. But, like, it's easy to mail it in when you've been somewhere for so long and it's just like, you ain't going to really see success here. Think about if you were a Raider. Brad was talking to me off camera, and he was talking about how, Trayvon Moore, certain guys, like, they're really locked into what Dave Canales is doing. You can see it, right? Because a lot of these guys have seen what it looks like otherwise. Trayvon Moore has been to the other side of this, right? When the rebuild just wasn't rebuilding. And the fact that he's locked in shows you, like, hey, I'm an older guy. I've seen what it's like on the other side. You young guys, you really need to pay attention to what this guy's selling because he's legit. And he is. He is. And so is Dan Morgan. Dan Morgan's legit. What a great place to be in. If it ended today, y'all, it's a success. If it ended today. But why not now? Why not keep going now? Why not win both of them? I think you can. Prime said it best. I'm on to Seattle. Me too. I feel good about the victory. But honestly, I don't look at Tampa as a team that we go down to Tampa and don't see the same result. As a matter of fact, I could argue it'll be worse next time. Same result, but worse. In Tampa. We owe it to them. You have lost to them 5 straight games. You owed it to them. So I'm glad we got it. I don't care about the fashion. I don't even necessarily care about the stats. I just cared about the W. But boy, the stats look good too. I love seeing the ball not turned over. I love that. I love seeing consistency in the running game. Rico eclipsing 1,000 yards on the season. Already was over from scrimmage, but 1,000 yards rushing for the season. Chuba Hubbard had a really good game, all things considered. And Nick Scorton, my goodness. Man, you talk about a young, budding superstar. This kid is everywhere. And once he develops a pass rush, if he becomes that guy. Like, look, when you look around the league, and I've thought about this, I know we make a lot of sacks, right? And you should, because we don't close the deal a lot. But when I look around the league at some of the best defenses, some of those guys, I mean, think about it. Myles Garrett, if he hadn't already, I haven't really been paying that close attention, but Myles Garrett is very, very close to breaking the sack record, right? And their defense is, they're pretty good. But the team is terrible. I've always been I love pressures over sacks, but I'll take the sacks too. Trey Hendrickson led this league in sacks last year. They didn't make the playoffs. Myles Garrett and them ain't going to make the playoffs, right? Last year, Jalen Carter and company, I don't think they had anybody, Josh Sweat, any of those guys, Nolan Smith, I don't think any of them broke 10 sacks. But the pressures were unbelievable. Milton Williams, pressure. Jalen Carter, pressure. Nolan Smith, pressure. That's what you see happening here. So, man, what happens when you do add a running mate on the other side? Whew, it can get interesting. Appreciate y'all joining me this morning. Mint Street Mondays, brought to you by the One Carolina Show. My name is John Farmer. I'm the host here. If this is your first time being here with us, we appreciate it. If this is your last time, we appreciate that too. Make sure to smash the like button, dislike button, subscribe button, bell notification so you don't miss a video. And good morning to all my faithful, man. I didn't get a chance to talk to my faithful. All my people out there, man. Subscribe to the channel, man. Channel members, if you want to become a member of the channel, $1.99 per month. You can click the subscribe button at the bottom or join button at the bottom. Dang, they hit me with somebody really did hit me with the dislike. I appreciate it. I feel like I know who that was too. You buster. And then they changed it. I know exactly who that was. But yeah, you can join the channel. $1.99 per month. Become a part of the OCs. That's the original cats. Shout out to Geraldine Cook, Will Robinson, Richard Bowman, King Jermaine, King's son, Nicole Ivory, one of my mods, Jay Issue, my dog, Miss Douglas, my girl, Newbie324, Dougie, Steve Hagler, Graham and Mint, my boy Pop. Man, a bunch of y'all. I appreciate y'all. I will update the list soon. As I mentioned before, we will be doing a lot of stuff in the off season, more pertaining to members only chats and videos and things like that. Giveaways as well. So that's something that's coming up soon. But hey, and speaking of giveaways, man, look, I finally got one. Shout out to my boy JJ. Shout out to Terrence. The guys over at FBFO for Panther fans only. The Reaper shirt. This the hardest thing on the road. I ain't even gonna lie, man. Like, I used to do a lot of merch. I haven't done a lot of merch as of late. But to be honest with you, I appreciate the merch that is out there. FPFO released a pack that is unbelievable. Man, the Nalo shirt that's one of the dopest shirts I've seen, man. Like, and so they got some really, really cool stuff. So check them out, man, over at for Panther fans only. Shout out to my dogs over there. But all right, speaking of the Reaper, if you are one of those, this might be a tough time for you. You might want to check out. No, I'm just kidding. We're not gonna go overboard because it was a good game. It wasn't. We don't look at this as like the greatest game ever, but it was a really good game. And shout out to looks like we got a super chat. Oh, my man, Panther Prime Podcast. I appreciate that, man. Panthers Prime Podcast said he's ready for the Seattle game already. Me too, man. I think that that's gonna be a tough out for them in the bank. I know they got a really high powered offense, but I also know Sam Darnold can cough up the pill at any given time. And look, y'all know my feelings about Sam. Sam's been playing well. Salute to Sam, but again, this can, he can turn that ball over at any given time. So, doesn't like the name, but boy, if it doesn't. So wait, okay, so hold on. Roy Blake, I'm sorry. We didn't mean to skip you. Bryce doesn't like the name, the Carolina Reaper. I didn't know that. That's news to me. But we don't care. It's hey, look, the one thing I love, you don't get to pick your name. When some of the greats, I mean, some people have given themselves their names and it's kind of weird. I think the only person that in my lifetime that I remember, I don't know if Kobe gave himself the Mamba name, and I could be wrong on that. If I am, please correct me. But I've seen people that try to give themselves their own nicknames. It doesn't work. You don't get to pick it. Michael Jackson didn't start calling himself the King of Pop. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Kobe started calling himself the Mamba, or Elvis the King of Rock and Roll, all this other kind of stuff. It's like they pick it for you. The defensive names over the years. I don't know who picked Thieves Ave. I thought that was pretty creative. Legion of Boom. I'm not sure who did that. Like, I hope that we have one of those again. Like, because I don't think that exists in the NFL right now. Like, where it's like, you got a unit or a group so good that they have like their own distinct name or whatever. Over the years, it's been some really cool ones, whether it was like the Minnesota Purple People Eaters or the Fearsome Foursome, you know what I'm saying? Or, the 85 Bears, which, I mean, that's basically what you call them. Or I think Super Bowl Shuffle is what, most people would refer to them as or whatever, or the Greatest Show on Turf. I hope that we develop one of those kind of names. But if you develop that kind of name, that means you got an incredible squad. So I'm hoping that that's something that comes along soon. But I appreciate Panthers Prime for the super chat. But yeah, Bryce, man. Bryce in command. My goodness. The thing that I love the most, y'all, no turnovers. There's not really many turnover-worthy plays. And I really, really love that, right? He's not putting the ball in harm's way. Now, I could argue, and I would like to see this personally, and I'm sure some of you guys would as well, right? I would love to see Bryce push the ball down the field more in more 50-50 opportunities. But what I'm starting to realize is that is just not his game. Some guys will do that, draw penalties. When you've got a receiver like Tetairoa McMillan, I think if you did it more often, maybe he would have that opportunity more often. But the more I'm starting to see of him, especially on some of those more contested catches, I don't know if he's quite ready for that. I see a lot of one-hand stuff. You don't see a lot. Like Jalen Coker is a little bit different in that regard. Like Jalen Coker gets both hands up all the time. A lot of hand fighting. He also gets a good amount of separation as well at the end of his routes. But I love seeing the hand fight at the end. Late hands, soft hands, but both hands, right? And T-Mac with the one-hand stuff is like, that's something that I'm sure they're going to work through a lot in the offseason. But I would like to see Bryce kind of air it out some more in more contested situations. Now, he had a beautiful back shoulder throw that T-Mac kind of fought through and caught that I thought was amazing, right? But I'm talking more like down the field shots, right? Stuff that would draw some PIs, but hey, look, it's all calculated. I love that too. He's just not going to be that kind of risk taker. And if that's his game, I'm fine with that. But at the same time, like, it does leave a lot to be desired at times. But man, you cannot ask for anything better from an efficiency perspective than you saw yesterday, and some huge, big time throws on the boundary, man. You know what I'm saying? Like this connection with him and Jalen Coker on the go route, the non-route, or the post, or whatever you want to call it, beautiful, right? Him and McMillan, him scrambling, hitting Jatavian Sanders in the end zone, right? He plays a brand of football that, like for example, I know that we talk about tight ends a lot, right? And we really want to see the tight end position be utilized more. And usually where you will utilize the tight end position is up the seam, right? But it just doesn't seem like the offense really calls for that. And everybody has like distinct roles and can play multiple different variations of those roles. And so I don't know that we're ever going to have, because to me, if you're going to draft a tight end, like if you were going to bring in somebody that would be more dynamic, you would go after someone like a Kenyon Sadiq, right? That has more like athletic ability. He's not your traditional tight end, right? Kind of like Kyle Pitts was coming out of Florida. I think that those kind of guys would probably fit this style of offense from a tight end perspective better. But I don't think that it's something that's featured as heavy, in this offense. And that's okay. It works when it works, right? To me, I'm okay with it as long as it's effective in the run game, right? If your tight ends are really effective in the run game, which they are, right? Then I'm okay with them not necessarily being big-time possession guys, or maybe someone developing into that, whether that be your Mitchell Evans. I do think that Sanders leaves a lot to be desired. I've seen some people in my chats from before saying, like, they think that maybe the injury last year in Kansas City kind of changed the trajectory of how he was performing, because it was a little different. I do have to admit. But then again, when you saw him against Atlanta, last year at the end of the year, that looked different from that perspective as far as like just his overall development. So I think it's a slow process. But one thing I've learned, man, and I know this isn't easy to do for us, y'all, and I'm going to bring Brad in a second so he can speak further to this. I have learned after watching what guys like Bryce have done and watching like Trevor Lawrence, man, playing out of his mind. You got to be patient with these guys, man. A lot of this stuff is coaching. A lot of it is just being able to understand concepts and confidence. You know what I'm saying? And just having that kind of confidence. Like, some of these guys are going to come in, they're going to be good right away. But their situations, the guys that are really good, the Drake Mays, Josh McDaniels is a what? If not at least 4 to 5 times Super Bowl champion coordinator, right? Mike Vrabel won 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots as a player and as a heck of a head coach. So you're coming into an organization that understands and knows how to do this, right? Now, granted, you got a lot of stuff to pull from as far as the Panthers are concerned. There's guys in this building still. Jim Caldwell's still kind of hiding back there somewhere. Dom Capers still hiding back there. So you got some championship pedigree, in the building. But not that's like actively teaching, coaching, instructing. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes it takes time for these guys to really learn and to grow and develop. And, I'm glad that it's happening in this time. I'm glad it's happening how it's happened. And I'm glad that it wasn't like an instantaneous thing, right? Because sometimes that's not sustainable. Sometimes the slow crawl is the sustainable crawl. I've mentioned before, as much as I like Bryce and I champion Bryce, even if Bryce isn't the necessary like long-term 4 or 5 year option. And I'm not looking, because what we got right now is plenty enough for us, right? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But if he's not, then at least he covers a position that you don't have to continuously be in flux about, where you can build out the team even more. I've said that, I'll say it time and time again, right? But the way he's playing, this style of football can win you games. This style of football can even win you playoff games. This style of football matched with, if you get some of that Atlanta stuff, if you get some of that Ram stuff, that can win you championships. So I love it. I love what I'm seeing. We got 192 watching between two platforms. Make sure y'all smash that like button. Thank you so much for joining in today. I'm going to go through the chat a little bit. I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys. What's good, J4700? Nicole, Merry Christmas. Appreciate you. Blasian said, if T-Mac can get the same flags that Mike Evans gets, we run this division. I think we're going to run the division anyway. And not for nothing, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I'm not of the mindset that I don't want. Like, I watched the Saints yesterday. The Saints beat the Jets, beat the brakes off the Jets, right? The Saints are not as bad a football team as they appear to be. It appears that they may have even found their quarterback. If they have, good, cool, fantastic. I hope they do, right? And the reason is because iron sharpens iron. I don't want to be in a division where you're the only good team. Think about what the Texans were doing a couple of years ago, and now look at Jacksonville. And then the Colts still have, are still an 8-win team, even though things have kind of fallen apart for them. Look out west. Man, the Rams, 10-win team. Seattle, 12-win team. San Francisco, 10-win team. When you look back historically at the best teams in the NFL, they always have at least one or two, unless it's the Patriots. The Patriots just ran it for so long that it was just like, man, nobody was even, closer competing. But I mean, even those years that, Philadelphia, man, they made the Super Bowl, made the playoffs, won a Super Bowl a few years ago, before winning the one that they won last year. Man, Dallas was winning 12 games like every year. So they were always competitive. So, because it kind of keeps you up. Because one of the things that I think, somebody said it in the chat earlier, that they hope that we've learned from our mistakes from before. What you don't want is a team that plays down to their competition. So if you see the Saints record at 3 and whatever, you go in like, oh man, I mean, we'll take care of them, but we looking on to, this next juggernaut that we got that we're getting ready to face down the road. And it's like, no, just take care of what's in front of us right now. And when you got guys, look, it don't have to be me speculating whether or not that's how they thinking, because when you got guys like Nick Scorton and who else was it? JT Sanders and others kind of saying the same thing, it lets you know that they looking at teams like food when you shouldn't be. So, yeah, I don't mind that other teams in this division are getting good. You want that. You want that kind of healthy competition. But shout out to Will Robinson. Will Robinson said, this is with the super chat, said, this is the cornerstone season. We're building something special in Charlotte. Keep pounding. Man, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I think that we are on the brink. I mean, you think about this, Will. You said it. When you talk about building something like a cornerstone season, this feels to me like, I was telling Brad this earlier, and Brad can speak to this, and I'll bring Brad in just a second. But this feels like a mix of two seasons to me. It feels a little bit like the 2013 season. We start off 1-3, right? Then we rattle off like 9 straight. Then we get clipped by New Orleans, but we still make the playoffs. We're 12-4, I think it was, right? After starting off 1-3, which is pretty impressive. Beating Tom and company on Monday Night Football. Great game. I'm talking about electric atmosphere. Mike Tirico, John Gruden on the call, man. The bank was just rocking. It was amazing, right? And this also reminds me of the 03 season, where it was kind of like a lot of guys that you just really didn't know what to expect, right? Because, like, at least in 13, you had some guys that you knew, like Luke Kuechly, you knew was a guy, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Cam Newton, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Steve Smith, Triple Crown guy, future Hall of Famer at some point, Ring of Honor guy. Right. So you had a lot of guys, Ryan Khalil, D'Angelo, Jonathan Stewart. So there were guys that you kind of knew, like, all right, this team has had some pieces that have been good before, right? Go back to 08 when we were the number 1 seed in the NFC. We're not too far removed from that, right? But that season, the 03 season, kind of similar. They, a couple of years prior, they went to the NFC Championship. But, like, man, Steve Smith, punt returner, don't really know what you got there. Musa Muhammad, okay, yeah. Mentor, sure. Ricky Manning, yeah. Chris Jenkins, yeah, he's a guy. Julius Peppers, obviously. But like Jake Delhomme, we go grab this guy from New Orleans practice squad. Like, who's he, right? So this kind of feels like that to me because, I mean, you've got a lot of some of the characters that have been here. Derek Brown, who's been here. He hadn't had a winning season yet. You know what I'm saying? DJ Wanham, he's been here, for now 2 years. He ain't had a winning season yet, right? Bryce Young, we've seen how awful that's been. He ain't had a winning season. So, yeah, it feels like a mix of both. We hitting our stride at the right time, kind of cardiac at the same time. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I do agree. This is a cornerstone situation where you have a lot to build onto. And man, if this draft class and what you saw from this class is any kind of indication of what's to come in the future, my goodness, cannot wait to see what that looks like. So, man, very much appreciative of your super chat. Thank you, and thank you. All right. So now, give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna, this is all still like beta testing, so we're going to a different screen. I'm gonna bring in Brad. At some point, I'm going to work this out a lot better than how it looks right now. But hey, look, we building. Brad, you there with me?
Yeah, what's going on? Morning, brother.
What's happening, man?
Perusing through all the Tampa Bay. I hope we keep losing so our coach gets fired and, people still bagging on the referees. Seeing just a lot of people's comments that were at the game yesterday, just how electric the stadium was, and just, hey, parlaying in this win, man.
I got to pause for 2 seconds. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to say the name. I'll just say the last name or the initials because I don't want to put your information out there if you don't want to be seen. JD. I'll just say that. Thank you, and thank you. JD sent a donation to the One Carolina Cash App. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That is very much appreciated. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you, and thank you. But Brad, continue.
I don't know, I was finished. That's just the introduction. Just heard some of the things he was talking about. This does seem like a somewhat hodgepodge of a team they've put together. But the big thing is we're ahead of schedule. That's what we were talking about earlier about, this division really is ripe for the taking for a team to be in command for the next 4 to 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I feel like due to, age on other teams, Saints defenses, elderly people, the Bucks, Evans can't play forever. Also, we were talking about members of their defense. I mean, Levante David came in before Luke Kuechly. He's still playing. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to continue to draft and, find pieces. And, Baker's starting to get hurt. In Atlanta, like I said, this morning, everybody knew the Carfax was all bad on Michael Penix. And it's starting to show. I mean, the kid, starting to have injuries. And they do have a beast in, Bijan. And they, drafted some young defensive line talent and, some outside linebacker talent. But if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything. And it seems we are just a couple pieces away. Like, we talked about linebacker play, maybe some more speed, definitely some more terror off the edge. And we got to, find us a young lineman to groom from, behind Moton. And we're ready to rock, man.
Yeah. And look, Major Keys just said something because a lot of people and Panthers J-Dub, thank you so much. But Major Keys said it in the chat. You had your nickel, it was Thornton. And I do think that they were grooming him for that position. Shao Smith-Wade got exposed. But Shao Smith-Wade is going to get exposed, and you're going to have matchup nightmares when they put Mike Evans in the slot and just say, hey, go defend him. And look, not for nothing, for the few times that he did get exposed, I will tell you this. At the end of the game, to help set up that Lathan Ransom pick, go watch that play. If Shout Smith Wade doesn't jam Mike Evans off the line and kind of knock him off course a bit, which is all you could, sometimes that's all you can do, right? But it's the little things, man. If you can't do, it's a thing with the lineman. Hey, if you're not getting pressure, get your hands up. Maybe a ball gets batted down. If you know that this guy is playing bully ball with you, and it wasn't just him, he did the same thing. I mean, pretty much dunked on Mike Jackson in the corner of the end zone on the fade route, right? So this happens. He was giving it around the block, right? It wasn't just that one person. But if you can't do anything else, do something small to try to be effective. And that one little bump at the line of scrimmage, trying to jam him, knocking him off course, and then he kind of, Baker's looking for him like immediately. So then the pressure starts to get there, and then once the pressure's there, you make a mistake. And, hey, we live with the results, which is a W for us. So, yeah, I get it. I understand that people, are definitely wanting the nickel position. I do think that you do have that in Corey Thornton, but I do still think that you also go out and potentially draft someone too because, hey, look, you kind of spoiled for choice, man. You got all this good stuff that's happening around you right now and how well these guys are playing despite them not maybe shouldn't be playing as well, gives you an opportunity to say, okay, well, maybe we can kind of stave off this position for a little while and let's focus more over here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, and a lot of it is, it's still scheme. The things we are asking these linebackers to do, I just don't feel like it's in their repertoire. The look, and like I said, we've seen this look for years where you walk your linebackers up to the line of scrimmage and, they're faking like they're going to blitz and then they pull out. That just leaves the middle of the field wide open when you don't have linebackers that can get to those spots. And we saw it yesterday, like you said, with, Chairless and with Boom, they have a real rough time bailing out at the right time and getting into passing lanes. Like, I understand how that works. I mean, we saw it work super well with Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, but, those are Hall of Fame, all-pro level guys.
Mm-hmm.
So with the guys that you have now, I feel like, Trevin Wallace has got that kind of speed, but still as far as him getting comfortable in his role, I mean, we saw it in the Saints game. I mean, the middle of the field was just wide open all day.
Yeah.
And then they continued to walk the linebackers up. So some of that, I feel like yesterday and the Rams game, when we went bump and run and we brought the blitz and they didn't immediately have outlets, we shut down their passing game for the most part. I mean, Emeka, what'd you say, one catch yesterday, targeted twice, three times.
One pretty big catch. And that's, a lot of that is just because if you go middle field open, against these safeties, you're going to have a lot of opportunities. So they go a lot of middle field close, a lot of, cover two, things like that to try to prevent one-on-one opportunities with Nick Scott. And no disrespect to Nick Scott because he played well, right, yesterday. But, in those situations like that, you don't have a high-level safety that can kind of patrol, that deep third of the field where you just, you were going to get exposed right there. And look, it's Emeka Egbuka, not for nothing. I'm not, up until yesterday, in my opinion, it was still a bit of a race. I think T-Mac answered that question. He's rookie of the year, without question. But up until that point, there was a good dogfight going on between the two of them.
Definitely. I mean, back and forth, at first, he jumped out and it's kind of seemed like teams have kind of made some adjustments now. But, T-Mac's just been, on the grindstone just week after week.
Yeah.
120 here, 60 there, 70 here, 80 there. And again, like some of the adjustments and some of the drops and some of the things, you go through in your rookie year, he's worked through those and still is, like I said, on pace, 1,000-yard season and, 8-9 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah. So salute to those guys, man. Look, make sure to smash that like button. We got 192 watching between two platforms, 52 likes. I appreciate y'all so much for joining us for Mint Street Mondays. Myself, John Farmer, my co-host, Invisible Brad, bringing you our thoughts and opinions on yesterday's victory, one of the most important victories in our franchise in the last 10 years anyway, because that was the last time we made the playoffs, was 2015. And so this put us one step closer to the playoffs. So I was talking about this, and I'll go back to this for a second, Brad. We'll kind of go back to the top for a second. Lathan Ransom. I did not necessarily have a problem last week when Lathan Ransom had the situation happen where he had the circumstance that happened whenever, he hit Tyler Shuck, kind of a late situation hit, a late whistle hit. I mean, but it was okay. When you're blitzing, if you're blitzing from the edges, if you're not really getting blitz and pressure up the middle, then the middle is pretty much wide open. So it was a really, really good play call by Kellen Moore to call a draw in that moment, right? But Lathan Ransom was just reacting. And so the reaction was, hey, I'm about to come blow you up. He kind of late slid. You talked about this. You said that, you've seen plays like that happen where guys don't necessarily get flagged for it. Go over what you had mentioned to me again about that as far as how that situation kind of comes about. You had mentioned something to the effect of you've seen that flag get picked up multiple times.
So, I mean, when the quarterback goes into his motion, so at the end, they're trying to protect quarterbacks. They're the, big investment. I mean, that's what people show up for. I mean, think about Kansas City without Mahomes for the foreseeable future and how many people are going to show up to watch Kansas City games other than diehard fans, and how marketable that be as late night games, so, that I understand that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But even major, MVP level quarterbacks, I've seen them pick up flags because it's all about where you start your slide, because they can't hit you if you're giving yourself up. You know what I mean? So Shuck bust through the line because, like you said, they had two guys in 7 and a 5 technique, which, outside the guard and tackle. So he just runs right up the middle. And Lathan comes up, and as Lathan's coming up, he starts his slide as he goes into his tackle, movements. And to me, he delivered such a hard blow. I think that's why they felt like they had to continue to, go through with the call.
Yeah.
But I felt like he slid late. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those plays where several times I've seen that picked up because the quarterback slides. It's just like when you're throwing a pass. You throw a pass and a guy takes 2 big steps, then hits you and lands, puts his weight on you. That's, roughing the quarterback. So when the guy slides and he's starting his slide and the player's already in their tackling motion, to me, that's not
shouldn't be a flag.
Personal foul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not a personal foul to me.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it was kind of a bait thing, and I feel like they baited. And also, too, 11 penalties last week. The refs played a major role in the game. I feel like that was just something they were waiting to call. And I've seen earlier in the season when Ransom started getting some burn where a guy slid and he had time to react, and he jumped over him and he actually pulled his arms back so they had nothing to call. And I remember the announcers, it was a Schlereth game. I remember Schlereth being like, man, how heady of a player and how smart of a player he was to pull his arms back and, straighten his body out to make sure they couldn't call BS. So it just, to me, it wasn't a big deal. It was aggressiveness. Tyler Shuck's a big guy. And if, he wouldn't have come up with that kind of ill intent, he could have ran for another 10 yards anyway.
Agreed. This is Lathan Ransom talking about that play. Shout out to Sheena Quick and Vashti, who was interviewing him in this moment.
Lathan, how fitting was it for you to end this game with an interception, given how everything went last week?
Yeah, I mean, like Mike said, I faced a lot of adversity. Heard noise from everybody last week, probably some of y'all too. But you feel me? I mean, that's football at the end of the day. That's how you shake back.
Can you take me through that interception?
I got they ran, I think it was wave. I was messed up on Mike, and Shaw bumped him real good and got a good opportunity to read the quarterback, make a play.
What's the touchdown Sally? I wanted to ask you about that.
That's that Joker. People heard my laugh, that video, me laughing and stuff during the game. You're gonna hear that when I play, and that's just that Joker laugh.
Was Nick Scourton telling you to get game isn't won or lost on one play?
Yeah, I understand that. Trust me. So yeah, I understand that the game's not won or lost by one play, but people behind that phone gonna have their own opinion. So I just heard all the noise, listened to it, and used that as fuel for this game.
I love it. I freaking love it. And I'm gonna tell you why I love it, man, because it shows the pedigree of the type of guys. This is why I love what Dan Morgan did, man, because Dan Morgan did say something in the blueprint when he was talking about, his philosophy on draft, right? I'm going to listen to my scouts, obviously, but I want guys who have championship level, like, pedigree. You know what I'm saying? Lathan Ransom coming off a national championship. Looked like his team might win it again this year, right? They're in the playoff. I love that stuff like that doesn't rattle these guys. Bryce Young getting benched, coming back. Hey, it might have sucked, but it didn't rattle my confidence too much because I understood why it was necessary to do it, right? Derek Brown playing at Auburn, right? Coming in and understanding like, hey, in the SEC, for the exception of like 1 year when you could have went anywhere else, you go to Auburn, make a name for yourself in a school that, I honestly hadn't really won a lot short of Cam Newton. Hadn't been back to the college football, playoff, or actually in the college football playoff time frame. They ain't been back, period. They was, the last time they made it was like when it was still the BCS championship series, right? Mm-hmm. So like, it doesn't rattle you though, because you still understand your job. You still understand what needs to be done, right? And so to see these guys and a guy like this bounce back in that way after making that kind of bonehead, because think about it, Brad. A lesser man would have probably pressed right there. A lesser man might have dropped the pick, might not have been thinking about the ball coming in my direction, right? But it just shows you the level of guys that you drafted. And as I mentioned earlier in the chat was talking about, if this is your framework for what you're going to bring in as far as like talent for this team, you're building, like Will Robinson said when he super chat this is a cornerstone season. This is the beginning of something that could be long standing, because that's the one thing about the Panthers. Like, yeah, we've brought in guys that have been, good, and then we've built some teams and it's kind of been up and down. I feel like we're at a place right now where we're finally getting to a situation where it could be like, it's not just going to be up and down. It's going to be sustainable, where you're not having the, okay, y'all will be 10-win season this season, then 6 the next. Then you might get to, 14 to 15 and then 5 the next. It'll be like, hey, you might only be in that 10, 11, 12 range, every year, but you're always in the mix. I want that more than I want, and I say this respectfully, I know it's going to sound crazy, so I would like that more than I would like a 15-1 season, personally, right? Because at least you're always in the mix and you're there. And if you're in the mix and you're there, you've always got an opportunity to win it all. But go ahead.
Well, even back then, we three-peated back then as far as the division was concerned.
Yeah, 7, 8, and 1. Yeah, but we did. You're right.
And it took a lot of nonsense in the subsequent 2 seasons for us kind of to fall off. But yeah, going through these growing pains as a young franchise, the ups and downs, I've never really seen it seesaw like it's been with us this year. Mm-hmm. You kind of get a little more continuity than that, but every single aspect of a young growing team we've seen the young coach falter with bad calls. We've seen players get too high after a win and not come back with the same intensity. You know what I'm saying? We've dealt with injuries. So we've had to deal with every single issue that a young up-and-coming team has to deal with, which I think, overall and for the long haul, it'll be to their betterment, not to their detriment. Mm-hmm. You talked about as far as like not being afraid of anybody in the playoffs. So, should we make it, we dealt with our injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Other than, our outside linebacker, everybody else is coming back. I mean, we may even get Robert Hunt back. You know what I mean? Now I forget about, Brady, but we've dealt with our injuries. We've pushed through. We found consistency at home.
Yeah.
And like I said, I really feel like we're on the crux of something. But what I like about the drafting strategy is, I mean, you've seen what Lori and those guys are doing up in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if we don't know what we want, if we don't know what, is out there as far as like people making moves, guys getting drafted before and after us, let's go get a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah.
And so with him, like I said, going to get Ransom, knowing we needed safety help, knowing we needed special teams help, to go get a guy, like I said, with that kind of pedigree, it's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah,
because you do. I mean, if you've got and you've seen it, man, if you've got an all-world cornerback from, Tulsa, and then you've got a solid cornerback from Michigan, I think you go with the solid guy. You know what I mean? Like, because you do have these C.J. Hendersons, and me and my boy Pat were talking last night about Rashad Anderson, R.I.P. That we took from Jacksonville State. I mean, he was a big corner. He was an outlier, speed, size, but there were some other cornerbacks available, and they adjusted to the NFL better. They just, you know what I'm saying? So, when you're playing in front of 60,000 in the NFL, and you come from a place where you're playing in front of, damn near 100,000, and I went through that process of the recruitment. I mean, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of people that's got eyes on you. And to them, man, these guys that's played at these big time schools, man. I mean, you remember Eric Reed said their locker room at LSU was better than the Panthers locker room. It was much nicer. So like you said, you go get these pedigree guys, and for sure you're going to get attitudes, and you're going to get guys who aren't scared of the limelight or the spotlight.
One of the reasons I love content creation is because I love when people show up like this. Shout out to Who That Records. He showed back up again. He talking about y'all stop crying about the Saints.
Thanks for coming out for Ministry Monday.
Right? Yeah. I can't even hate, man. Hey, y'all got us. Hey, I told you, man. Look, man, it don't matter if it's an NIT season, if it's a NCAA tournament season. As long as we go into Cameron, as long as they come into the Dean Dome and we handle business, I'm a pop shit. You know what I'm saying? So hey, he doing what he doing. So salute to Who Dat. So, but anyway, moving right along, man. Let's go to this defense a little bit. I want to talk about something that I saw that was a huge need. Mike Jackson, number one. Let's just say this. Let's give Mike Jackson his flowers. Man, Mike Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, I saw this stat somewhere. Mike Jackson leads the league in pass breakups. Man, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And if it's not the league leader, it's like up there, right? And Mike Jackson is somebody that I have seen certain platforms talk about ad nauseum replacing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see these vlogs written and all this other kind of stuff about, drafting this guy from this school or this guy for a running mate for JC or whatever like that. And I'm just like, nah, man, you got what you need. Like, Mike Jackson held it down. Like, look, I get it. Mike Jackson gave up a touchdown. Most people, JC would probably give up a touchdown in that situation against Mike Evans. That's just his spot, right? But boy, did he redeem himself. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, salute to Mike Jack. But we talked about this offline a bit, man. When we go down the list of needs, and there were people that were talking about this in the chat. So, shout out to the chat. I don't think there's a bigger need that you have than linebacker. God bless Trayvon Morig, but man, every time he would come up to blitz, sometimes he would just completely get blown off the ball. Why? Because he's a safety. He's not a linebacker. Claude Cherilus sometimes looked like he had no clue what was going on, right? Running into guys, running past guys. You know, I mean, there was a couple of times on rushes, man, where they would just run right past him. Him and Roseman would be like literally in the same place, getting blocked by one person. And I'm like, yeah, that's situational awareness. That's not necessarily physical ability or anything like that, but it's what separated guys like Luke Kuechly from those who don't, right? But our pedigree has always been to have guys in tow. Now, now granted, I get it. Luke, having the luxury of a guy like Luke and a Thomas Davis gives you the ability to develop the David Mayos and the AJ Kleins and the Shaqs of the world, right? So you don't have that primary guy. But boy, the drop off from just Trevin Wallace to Claude Cherilus is significant. But despite that, I mean, in coverage, he still held his own. So it's hard to like completely dog him out. What do you say?
Well, I mean, I feel like they're on the cusp of making several plays. I do like that Boone stepped up, got a sack yesterday, but I also think of the Saints game where Mike Jackson had one of the most perfect hits on a football I've ever seen on the jet sweep, and Boone didn't get the fumble. I mean, it was just right there for I mean, those kind of things, it's like they're almost there, and if they're schemed right, they are in position, they make plays. But I don't see how anyone could argue against an upgrade in the for the linebackers on our team. I mean, like I said, Wallace is sideline to sideline. Boone's a great special teams player that's filling in. He made a lot of tackles for the Rams last year. But I still think in the business of football, you can still find guys who are a better fit for that scheme and who can do more for your football team.
Yeah. See, Miss Douglas. I keep saying, I'm sorry, I remember you changed your name. She said, facts, Mike Jack is tied for a first with 3 others with 17 pass deflections. And then she said something else. I'm not going to say that because if I say it, I'm really trying to grow up, y'all. I promise I'm trying to grow up. Actually, no, I'm not. But if I say what she say right there, then I'm gonna have to follow that up with you that word, and I don't want to follow it up with that word. So I'm trying to grow up, right? But yeah, salute. Mike Jack is tied for first with 3 others. But back to the point we were talking about with the linebacker situation. I'll ask you this question to your point, to further your point. Do you think it's more important to shore that position up, the off ball, or the edge?
It's BPA and what they get accomplished in free agency, but I'm torn. I really am, because I mean I remember years where we didn't have a great pass rush, but we had guys that could stop the run like we do now. And Luke just went through there and made a lot of different plays. And then I remember years of when we had Peppers, Rucker, and like you had guys that consistently could get double-digit sacks.
Mm-hmm.
And we were, thin at linebacker at certain points. I remember we got Nile Diggs from Green Bay, and they just weren't the best free agent signings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I always remember him because I remember him saying he had to he had to donate all his fur coats when he came to Carolina because it wasn't that cold.
Right.
But yeah, I'm actually torn because I mean I feel like Princely should get a few more snaps just to see what we have in him. I mean, when I see him playing, I do not see us giving up long runs. I don't see us, I think he might have been in last week when they ran a screenplay, but that was, again, an all-out blitz on Shuck, and they called the screen at the right exact moment. But, I mean, the kid plays the run well. The kid rushes the passer well. But, I mean, his snaps have been severely cut for Gibson since we signed him. And he's a monster in the run game. He really is. But with Wanham approaching free agency, I feel like you got to see what you got in the kid. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, not even that, too, just as far as development and real game bullets. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to see what you have. But yeah, we have got to get someone on defense at the edge that scares offensive tackles.
Agreed.
We still need to do that.
Shout out to my mod, Willie Smith. He says, do you believe that Princely will eventually become Nick's complimentary player? I actually think that, that's a really, really good comment because shout out to my boy Pop. I heard a spirited conversation yesterday. I told my boy Twan, I'm always watching the show and the Q&As. I don't comment a lot, but I'm always watching. And they had a dialogue back and forth about Princely, and it got a little little spicy, but I think that Princely is not as far along as maybe they would have hoped that he would be at this point. But I also think that opportunities are important too. And yes, I think that this is the best course. Because, man, look, early in the offseason, man, you couldn't tell. I mean, look, Princely was the one that everybody was excited about. Man, you remember that OTA where he had it's like 3 times in a row, bro was in the backfield. You know what I'm saying? Like, on would-be sacks, right? And people were kind of like...
Oh, yeah, against Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, no. No, we talking about... this was before any kind of preseason. This was OTAs, right? Now, granted...
Oh, okay. My bad.
It was shorts. It was, helmets only, whatever. I get it. But I do think that it is important for his overall development that he get more reps. And we saw him yesterday, right? Most of his stuff has been special teams over the last few weeks. But I think they're working him back into the lineup. And maybe he's just got some stuff that he's got to work on. But I do think that him being situational complimentary would probably be the best course of action right now, right? So I think that's honestly like that. I like that comment, Willie, because in my opinion, who knows if he's not, we saw Hassan Reddick yesterday had a pile driving tackle on Bryce Young. But man, when Hassan Reddick was drafted, Arizona didn't know what to do with him, man. And then as soon as they moved him to kind of a wide 9 where he was kind of standing up, mostly, he had 5 sacks in 1 game against Eli Manning, right? So, and then we saw what he became after that. So some guys this is one of those situations. It may take a second. If you're getting any kind of meaningful snaps out of him, regardless of where it is, right? Special teams, he was giving some meaningful snaps there. Okay, cool. Should he be a starter at this point? This was part of their argument yesterday. You would hope so, yeah. But when you got other guys out there that are already kind of proven, like I told you, Brad, that I went back and watched the Miami game. This team really misses Pat Jones. Like, Pat Jones was wreaking havoc in that game, bro. Like, from a pressure perspective, he had a sack, had a couple of almost sacks. So, I don't think that they went in with the idea that DJ Wanham was going to be your number 1 guy. He was going to also be kind of a rotational guy. I do now think that Pat Jones was going to be your workhorse opposite of Wanham, but he kind of was in front of Scorton. But at the same time, Scorton maybe doesn't get his opportunities if it doesn't happen. So in an alternate universe, you would love to see where Scorton's the guy and Pat Jones is the guy. And maybe that does work out as the season progresses. But they, like you said, they do need that other guy over there that is a havoc creator. And there are guys in this draft. I watched one Saturday, man, Ruben Bain. I know people are talking about his, measurables as far as his arm length and stuff like that. They were saying that same thing about Rashawn Slater from an offensive left tackle perspective when he got drafted. He's an all-pro, right? So if a guy's a gamer, let the tape be your guide. So.
Well, I mean, what are they talking about? The guy's nearly 6'4", 275 pounds with that kind of speed.
Well, he didn't have prototypical arm length, for the some guys have arms that are super long. Like, they're freak athletes, like Shamar. What's my guy's name that went to the Cincinnati? The kid from Texas A&M. You know what I'm saying? Shamar Stewart, yeah. Or Michael Williams. Guys like that. Hey, look, Jalen Walker was not your quote-unquote prototypical edge rusher. But, I mean, at least not against us. But, hey, outside of us, Buddy been all right, So.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's just one of those things where they get to the point of the draft where they have nothing else to talk about. because Bane wreaks havoc. I mean, he's had some issues with off the field stuff, super minor. Other than that, man, like I said, I mean, he's just done his thing, and he's done a lot like Scorton. Like he's been asked to be outside, he's been asked to go inside, and he's done it all with a smile on his face.
Give me 2 seconds, y'all. Sorry. Could y'all hear me?
No.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, when you got it's Christmas break, so the babies are, they're around.
Christmas.
Yeah, man. This is my time, man. I'm telling, man, y'all don't know how hard. Okay, look, I'll be honest with y'all. I appreciate y'all sticking with me because my content has been sporadic. Usually throughout the week, it is not common for me to just drop a Mint Street Mondays and then not do anything else, right, throughout the week. But this is my favorite time of year. And I got kids that are still little. So, like, I'm all in on this stuff, man. We drive around every night looking at Christmas lights. Last night we went and found a couple of new neighborhoods. Tonight we're going to an actual place that, like, you kind of drive through and you can look at Christmas lights, and then they've got animals on the reserve and drink hot cocoa and all that kind of stuff. I'm one of them kind of nerds, man. If you want to call it nerd, but I mean, I'm a family guy, right? So, like, it is hard for me to make content during this time of year, but I'm sticking with it, y'all. I'm sticking with it.
Man, if you don't quit apologizing for loving Christmas.
Pray for me.
Man, I'm here apologizing for loving Christmas.
Just pray for me, y'all. All right. Moving along. All right, Brad, we about to do it. You ready to yell at each other? Because it's time. Jimmy Horn needs more reps. Now, that initially you wouldn't think would make you want to yell at me. But it's not that. It's what follows. It's what follows. And I'm going to try to do this and attack this from a place of love. I promise you. The therapists say always start with love, right? I watched, Jimmy Horn yesterday had the end around or sweep, whatever you want to call it. Big splash play. There was another play that I saw.
Lathan, how fitting was it for you to
what was that?
In this game with an interception?
I promise I didn't mean for that to happen.
Computer.
Yeah. Computer love. Anyway, all right. As I was saying, man, get out of my chat, bro.
I know, right?
Go ahead, man.
Hey, look, Napoleon Dynamite.
You ever seen them? You ever seen them videos where it's like, I showed this to my wife and man, she died laughing. Where it's like, they be like, man, black people don't take nothing serious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or laugh at you or joke with you about everything. Like, man, look at him. He drinking water. Look at this nigga drinking water. He trying to take care of himself. Look at this nigga being a good dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Look at this dude loving Christmas with his kids.
Man,
get out of here.
Get out my chat, man. All right, back to it. All right, as I was saying, man, there was a couple of plays yesterday. They use Jimmy in motion all the time because with that type of speed, you always have to account for it, right? And a lot of times, because they know that you're not targeting him, sometimes he would literally be wide open in the flat. There was one play where Bryce went to, I believe it was Coker, and it was a miss. Man, Jimmy Horn was wide hammer open. The problem is that the read wasn't for him. And Bryce Young, one thing I love about Bryce Young is creative when it comes to what he can do, manipulating the pocket, moving around. I get it. It might have been a hold on, whoever the, what was it, Diaby or whatever yesterday when Bryce threw the touchdown to JT. But I'm not, the last thing I'm going to do in a game where the calls are kind of, wonky against us is be upset that we got one that was in our favor, right? But Bryce still had to do a lot of work to get to that point to throw that touchdown. It was, we ain't talking about like, Josh Nijman just like literally grabbing the dude and throwing him to the ground. Like it would have been kind of ticky-tack if they would have called it, but you could have understood if they would have threw the flag. So I get it, right? But it worked in our favor. Regardless, the calls aren't going to him. The reads aren't going to him. Bryce plays within the structure of the offense. He might move around. He might go full field read still, but it's kind of predetermined he has a read and somewhere he's going with the ball initially. If he wasn't playing like that, Jimmy Horn would have got a touch that would have turned into some absolute magic. So hear me out. Before you go drafting the next version of a guy like him, right? When you look at where we're drafting, most people would say like you and me. I saw somebody say CJ. You said pick a Georgia guy, CJ Allen, right? There's your guy. There's your linebacker. But there's people out there that really love Mekhi Lemon. I'm one of those people from USC. He is dynamic. I also love Zachariah Branch from Georgia. Maybe he'll be later, available in later rounds. He reminds me, kind of has a little bit of Zay Flowers, to his game, right? Holds on to the ball better, obviously. But the thing you're not getting in this offense, and Bryce can do this because we've seen this when they had Adam Thielen, you're not really getting guys that can attack the middle of the field, right? The guys that you would like to attack the middle of the field do what we saw yesterday, and that's drop a pass. And granted, was it a huge deal when you think about the drop passes that have happened on this roster from the beginning of this year until now? No, because T-Mac has dropped passes, right? The difference is, though, is that the thing that you and I, Brad, have sat and argued about he could be good at or would make him dynamic, be that the shallow cross, be that the slant, whatever else, most of those opportunities that you've seen from him have been drops or complete, flubs or whatever, right? Whether it's a slant getting blown up by a corner and dropping the ball, or a crossing route like yesterday and completely dropping the ball, or, shallow cross, if you will, and dropping the ball. I mean, he would have, Brad, maybe he was kind of thinking a little bit too far ahead when he dropped it, but he had some leverage. That could have been the play that we saw in, what was it? FanFest, where he caught the shallow cross and took it to the crib, right? That could have been that, possibly. If those things that you do well, you can't do well, or that you're supposed to be able to do well, you can't do well, I can't just have you as a guy working the boundary, because now you're having to fight for opportunities out there with the likes of Teteroy McMillan, almost 1,000-yard receiver, and Jalen Coker, who is thriving in that position. So where do you fit? And if I've got a guy who is always showing up in the flat wide open, who is being used as a decoy in the middle of the field but never gets the ball, why am I not giving that guy more reps? That's my argument. So if that means that he's not a part of this team as a result of that, then it is what it is. That's not necessarily what I want, but what I'm saying is that where does he fit if the things that you want him to be good at, he struggles with? That's my biggest issue with this whole thing with XL. Respond.
Listen, man, don't tiptoe around it, man. If you're going to say he's going to be a part of this huge trade that's going to happen in the offseason, it's going to be building up to that, and everyone's going to be saying that, do it with the confidence of a 3-year-old with a Batman t-shirt on, man. Don't be like, I don't really want it to happen, man.
That ain't no, but
like you do.
Brad, I said it last week. I made a declaration, a bold take that I thought he would be traded. But I had to add context because this is not coming from a place of hating. I don't hate XL.
I don't think you hate the dude. Yeah, I feel that.
No, but it's just, but when you, like I said, when you think about, go back to what Steve Smith said when we drafted Teteroy McMillan and what his biggest issue was. You're bringing in somebody that already does the same thing that these other two guys do. So if this guy that can't do this stuff, he's not going to play over those two guys. Not when you see that kind of production. So why are we not getting more of Jimmy? I'll tell you why. 6th-round pick versus 1st-round pick. That's why.
Also, too, Jimmy is, 5'10"? You see the running game. You see the kind of blocking that XL provides on the boundary. That's one reason he's not getting to play as much as him. But also, if y'all are watching the same games as me, Jimmy is getting reps. He's getting reps for XL. They're also bringing in Bryson Tremaine. I'm thinking like at some point it's like, how many reps do you think? Do you just want to see these guys starting? Do you want to see like when they first come out of the huddle, first possession, these guys are on the field? Because otherwise they're getting worked in. But you're saying it yourself with Jimmy, and this is my thing with Bryce. If Jimmy is wide open and he's the third read on certain plays, what does it matter if it's him or XL out there anyway? Because every single play is drawn up with the read to go to one guy. When that initial guy's not open, that's when you do work through your progressions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like they're finding creative ways to get Jimmy involved. But the thing with XL is, and I'll stick to this, you've got the guy super cheap for 4 years, and then you have the option to get him cheaper than any other big-time receiver. Let's say if he became that.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy can run off coverage. The guy blocks like a tight end. Now, his spatial awareness, those kind of things, I said it. You know, I always quote Jerry Rice, you know, good players make great plays sometimes, but great players always make the easy plays. That was an easy play yesterday that he dropped that pass. I wouldn't say the one on the sideline was as easy, but I've seen guys make that look easy with the toe tap, toe drag swag. You know what I mean?
And then
there are still things this guy needs to do. But for us to be talking about like moving on from him so that a 6th round guy with, you know, diminutive stature can start, to me, is asinine.
Okay, now, fair point. But would it matter if it was 6th round Jimmy Horn or 1st round Carnell Tate or 1st round Mekhi Lemon or 1st round Zachary Branch or 2nd round Zachary Branch?
I mean, if you bring in a guy specifically to take over for him, then yeah, that's going to, I mean, like, you know, because that's the thing, the organization is going to be like, listen, we're bringing in someone because we need help. It's like us bringing in, you know, Damian Lewis, Robert Hunt. Like, we brought them in to play over guards and guys that we had on our roster already because we wanted to get better. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, if they bring a guy in and then they move on, but like, you know, I've been kind of, you know, dealing with this online in some different forums and stuff. I mean, like, because people are, they're not happy with XL. Being a 1st round pick, you have this just certain message boards.
Okay, I got my bad. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Not specific people or specific like reporters or anything.
Yeah.
And so, but they're saying already, like, the guy is, they're mentioning with names like Jonathan Mingo, with names like, you know, Devin Funchess, Terrace Marshall Jr. And so I'm just saying in year 2, I'm not willing to go there yet because, yeah, Jamar Chase, Randy Moss, there are certain guys that hit the league year 1 and ball out. But then I start thinking of guys like, I mean, this was the same thing with Muhsin Muhammad. Like, people, he was our 2nd round pick, early 2nd round, had drops, seemed to be lost on the field, and he had issues with separation. And then Moose became like a consistent 1,000-yard receiver. So my thing is just, I feel like it's too early to call, but I can understand like some frustration, but like, I can't be like, the kid's a bust, the kid's garbage. Like, we need to move on immediately.
Why you can't? Sure you can. Just do it. Just say it. Say it so I can clip your ass up and be like, Brad said it, not me.
Exactly. You will not get it.
But
ain't gonna get it.
But you know, the point is look, there's a few good comments here in the chat that I wanna go over real quick. And shout out to my man Fed. Now, I appreciate you, man. You've been around for a long time, became a member of the channel. Welcome to the fold. It's XL bring out the worst in the chat, boy.
I seen that one, yeah. I'm telling you, man, people don't like this dude, man. They like they country. He out there eating dessert with Kay Adams. He in Glorilla's video. Who he think he is? He need to be at practice. You know what I'm saying?
Bro.
Like those things eat on people.
Speaking
And
of
you got to
Kay
come out there.
Adams,
It's like you said it 2 seasons ago about C.J. Stroud when he was on that tour after his rookie year. He was like, "Hey man, he better put up some numbers this next year because
talking
he's
to
been on the
everybody.
tour, man. He been visible."
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Kay Adams, boy, I don't know if you saw that video. I'll pull it for our Around the NFL of her and Brandon Marshall and Playmaker Irvin. That just look crazy. I'm like,
I had to watch
man,
that.
some of y'all horny, man. Y'all need some self-control, bro. For real. Like a lot of y'all need some self-control, like straight up, because bro, it look crazy out here. That's all I'll say. I'll show it to you, when we go around the league. But back to this point, there was a couple of comments that I saw that I wanted to highlight that I thought was really good. Where was that at? I think one was by. I hope my Miles didn't get him out of here. I don't think so. Let's see. Okay, one of them was this, and it was Brad K5J said XL and Andy have a better rapport. He catches about everything Andy throws at him, and I do remember that from last year. Maybe not this year so much, but last year definitely. And then there was another one that I saw that, man, I thought this other one was really good because it kind of spoke to the other big. I can't separate. Plays, present, deeper.
Yeah, it definitely blew up.
Yeah. Dang. Okay. I can't find it. Anyway, Pop said I need some self-control too. Yeah, straight up. But nah, man. With XL, man, it's like, and one of the comments that I saw, and I thought this was good, I just can't find it. But it said something to the effect of, he gets open, like he's beating his man. There's just no trust there. And I do think that's important. Because like yesterday, Bryce did go back to him. But he had a pretty meaningful catch that it was a play that kind of, the play before the touchdown to T-Mac, where he moved the chains with, a couple of seconds left on the clock or whatever, after the play where he stepped out of bounds, which I know Mark Slayer be smoking XL when he would be on the broadcast, bro. He be going in on XL on the broadcast. But he's an easy target, man. You know what I'm saying? And look, I thought that play was a good heads-up play after the fact. He got out of bounds, helped to set up and he, made a couple of good blocks yesterday. And I love the fact that he's always celebratory of the people around him. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Because he could sulk, man. And he's not doing that. So, like, when I say what I say, it's coming more from a fact of, like, opportunities and everything like that. Because, yes, you're right, Brad. If they decide to keep him around and he's not moved based on things that he needs to develop better at, I just hope it's not at the detriment of bringing in or allowing what you already have in-house to get more opportunities in that spot. You see what I'm saying? So like I said, to be able to work underneath a little bit more, to have more middle of the field opportunities, whatever like that, slants, all that kind of stuff. Because look, David Moore, that's a great example. David Moore's practice window is opened up. I think that you're going to see some opportunities for David Moore, especially if we make the playoffs. David Moore had a couple of good catches last year, specifically on slants, one in Atlanta to score, one in New Orleans. He had one egregious drop against New Orleans as well. But the point is that it just gives you a little bit more opportunity to open up the playbook and have a few more options available to you, right? But again, look, like I said, guy in the chat said it. He's getting separation. The trust is not there. So, who knows what happens. But in my heart, I know you said just go out, just flat out say it. Would I move XL for the greater good of his career and possibly also for, opportunity here? Yeah. I mean, I ain't just afraid to say it. I just said it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know a lot of people won't agree with that, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. But
what I mean, hey, and listen, I'm a business guy. I mean, if you have someone out there that's willing to trade future draft capital or impact players for Excel, then yeah, I can be down with that. But I think right now the guy is more valuable to us than a 5th rounder or a 4th rounder or something like that. Like I said, if you can go out there and you can get a 3rd and up, or 2 seconds or something crazy. I mean, at one time, somebody was willing to trade us 2 firsts for Brian Burns. You know what I mean? And to this day, I think that's insanity. So if you can go out there and, there's all this interest, then no, I mean, like you said, for the greater good, I wouldn't have an issue with that. I just know you line all 3 of those major guys up, and the only one that has a chance of beating Excel in a foot race is Jimmy Horn Jr.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But that spatial awareness, that, toe tapping, those are the kind of things I'm seeing guys do in college. I'm seeing guys do in the NFL, and I get it. And, not to not state the obvious, but a big portion of the fan base is angry at Excel because we didn't draft Ladd McConkey. You know what I mean? Ladd McConkey
that's why Miss Douglas said what she said. She said, I think we have to keep in mind who Excel is in their perspective. He should have never been drafted where we took him. We're holding him to a standard in which he may not live up to, at least not here in Carolina. I think that is probably the best. Like, to me, that sums up Excel in a nutshell when you think about it. I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your thought, and I'll finish what I was going to say to this.
Well, no, I'm just saying that Ladd McConkey's producing in San Diego, but I mean, his situations have been different both times. I mean, and I would say, like, his quarterback, live arm, Herbert is a bigger guy, all those different things as far as field vision, all that different stuff that you wave in there. But then also, McConkey is one of those guys that can route you up in a phone booth. He is like a young Thielen in that aspect. And, he's got some real speed. So I can understand why people are angry about that. But it definitely is driving some of the like the online backlash with Excel, because they're like, man, we could have had him. We wouldn't have had to trade up. We wouldn't have needed to do this. We needed to do that. We could have him. He had, close to 1,000 or 1,000 yards last year. He's sitting on like 7 or 8 touchdowns this year. And, Excel's struggling to find his way in the offense.
Yeah, and then you got the other side of that argument, like Maurice Hardy says here. He said, y'all ain't learned to stop giving up on guys too soon. Look, you're right. You're not wrong about that, because I just made that argument. The difference is, though, is that with the guys, when I made the argument, it was more about quarterback. In this situation, if you didn't have any other option but Excel in a specific spot, then yeah, you would need to kind of wait, through his development. The problem is that you got 3 guys who kind of do all the same thing and 2 guys who do it markedly better than he does, right? And so, and it sucks because you just like, man, if he did figure it out, especially with the hands, Brad, man, nobody separates like him. Jalen Coker does not separate like Excel. T-Mac does not separate like Excel. And just like somebody else commented in the chat, that's what makes it so frustrating, because you can see it on tape. You do see it. And yes, there were times early in the season when Bryce would dirt a ball, to him when he ran a curl route, right? But there's also times now where you see where he'll be open, and it's like the trust is just not there, because he does. I'm telling you, Bryce does lean on T-Mac a lot. Like, he had a ton of targets yesterday, man. And you do want to get a guy like that more involved. But again, for a boundary guy, you do need to structure within your offense ways to attack the seam, either that be with a tight end or middle of the field, especially when you got a team that just keeps giving it to you. Like, pause. I said, I'm trying to grow up. See that, Miss Douglas? See what I'm saying? But when you've got a team that's showing you middle field open so often, they're watching your tape and seeing, well, these guys don't really attack the middle. They just attack the boundaries like crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So we don't
right.
really have to worry about anything there. So it's like, okay, well then who's going to be that guy? Who is going to step up and be that guy that go run a drag and not be afraid to get smacked if he's out there, or drop the ball if he's out there, right? It is an interesting situation, and I think it would open up this offense even more than it already is at this point. So,
Well, I mean, and we've seen him make some of those catches. There was a catch against Atlanta where he called it, got blew up, drug a guy for 5 yards. And then we all, like I said, I mean, we, for the most part, like to stay away from the Bryce conversation. But at some point, too, I want to understand, like people understand. I mean, you're throwing for 190 yards per game. Outside of that, how many yards do you think there is to spread around?
yeah.
Your main guy and your bailout guys are going to get the majority of the yards. And when they say there's a lack of trust there, where is that also on Bryce to be like, it's not just a lack of trust, it's a lack of trust in your linemen to take another second to look to your third or even fourth option who is wide open and hit them. You know what I'm saying? Because what we're saying here is, you know, XL's not got the chemistry with Bryce, so let's give Jimmy Horn more reps. But then we just got off of saying Jimmy is wide open and not getting the passes either. So at what point is we can't judge receivers based off the fact that our quarterback is just starting to play consistent?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point too. All of this is interesting, you know, but it's all a good problem to have. It's all a good problem to have when you are winning. If you were not winning and these were causes of you not winning, then it becomes a bigger problem.
Yes, definitely.
Nate De La Ghetto says he's got a conspiracy. Says XL was a DC pick and T-Mac a DM pick. I think Dan took a lot of the decisions this year for 2025. DC didn't look that happy when the Jimmy pick came in on draft night. Dave Canales. I would have to go back and watch Blueprint to just see.
Yeah.
You know, that's so far back that, I mean, you know, you might be onto something. I don't know. But I know this. I know that we have seen clearly that Dave Canales, when you look back at here's where you could kind of lend credence to the conspiracy. Look at the way that early on, up until the noise got loud, whether it was from the media, the content creators, the fan, whoever, about the Rico and Chuba situation, especially going into the Buffalo game and how that whole thing worked out. And so, you know, when you see how he handled that and then how things kind of flipped, you know, more in Rico's favor, and it felt like it was because he was getting pressed, then you could see where maybe there's a bit of a bias, you know, there. But man, a coach would be crazy to say that he don't have biases. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he said as much. Hey, here's another thing that leads to your conspiracy theory. I'm old enough to remember Dave Canales saying that when XL had his breakout game in Atlanta, he was about to cry. You know what I'm saying? Because he was so excited. When you see a guy that has gone through as much as he's gone through, and these guys are far more connected to these people than we will ever be, right? So when you see somebody that's connected to these guys like this and knows his story and the things that, like, look, I get it. The offseason stuff, we can look at that and be like, dog, what was you thinking? Well, you also got to remember XL, who knows what XL's support system is? A lot of these guys need strong parental guidance because when they come into the league, immediately they become big dog in their family at 20 years old. Why? Because they the breadwinner. You know what I'm saying? So people look at them, and based on your financial status, they look at that and say, okay, well, financially you up here, so that means that, you know, you up here as far as the hierarchy in the family now. That could be anything but true. That's part of the reason why I think Ja Morant is struggling, because T. Morant still want to be a YN. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, if you don't have that, what'd you say?
I said,
Yeah. If you don't have that structure, especially that male structure, you know what I'm saying, in your life, and XL, unfortunately, lost both of his parents. Now, I don't know what his, you know, mentor situation is like or his other family situation is like, but if you don't have that from parents specifically, then yes, it can become a little bit difficult to navigate your way. So yeah, seeing a guy, and so you start doing things in the off season, all the derby stuff and the Glorilla stuff and all the other kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, it was not really showing up here. And then you see a guy that's really pressing and taking that really serious because he wants to be good, starts to have some success. It would make you emotional. It'd be like, you know, Brad, in your field, or, you know, seeing a kid that you're mentoring and you're trying to do the best you can for this kid, and he finally starts to turn a corner, starts to figure it out. I see a little small glimmer of light and a glimmer of hope in changing this young person's life because of what they might have experienced before they got to you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I understand it. And we do, you don't have to. Some people will see this differently and be like, I don't care. You know, I'm only beholden to the greatness. Cool. I choose to look at it through that lens as well because I think it tells the story just as much as anything else. So salute to Nate De La Ghetto for the conspiracy, and salute to Raising Kane YT for the super chat. Thank you so much. Raising Kane YT said I had to rewind to the start, so not at the point of where you're talking about now, but love the content, man. Everyone sub and spread the word about the channel. No way this man should be under 5K still. Hey, it's coming, man. You know, it's all about timing, man. I'll tell you, something sidebar real quick, Brad, and we'll get back to it. I sat and watched this weekend people giving Charlemagne his flowers for the iHeart deal. Charlemagne, if y'all don't know, Charlemagne runs the Black Effect podcast network that is a part of iHeart. He signed a $200 million, like a 5 or 6 year, $200 million deal or whatever. And man, I've watched The Breakfast Club for a very long time, and I've seen Charlemagne's growth from who he was in the beginning to who he is now, right? And certain moments that he's had where, like for example, Charlemagne was always kind of shock jockish, even when he was in Charleston. I remember Charlemagne from that far back. You know what I'm saying? Being in Columbia, Charleston, and moving his way up, from there. But he had a moment that kind of changed his career, and it was when Floyd Mayweather was doing a read on The Breakfast Club, and he was struggling, and they released that audio, thinking that it would be funny, but he talked about it. He had to go to therapy over that because he couldn't, fathom or couldn't really, come to grips with the fact that statistically, we are already a community that struggles in certain areas because of, low education situations or whatever like that with reading, and then you just put a brother on blast that struggled to read a read. Now I think Floyd Mayweather can read or whatever like that, but you gave ammo to people like 50 who would take that and run with it. You know what I'm saying? And so he talked about how he had to make changes and stuff like that. And to some people, that could be career suicide. I've done the same thing on this channel. If you go back and look at some of my early content, some videos I don't even have up anymore, and some of the ways that, I did content before, I changed. So part of the reason that I'm maybe not at 5K or above that right now is because, one, I've had kind of some personal stuff where I'm not always as active as I am at the moment, but also because I kind of changed the frame of how I do content, and that was important to me. But I know eventually it will pay off, and eventually things will be exactly what they're supposed to be, like it did for him, especially when you're true to it and you don't waver. So salute to Charlemagne and salute to you for the super chat. I appreciate it so much. My boy Roy Blake called you Mark. He said, thanks, John and Mark.
It's your boy Mark coming at you.
We're not laughing at you, Roy. His name's Brad, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna start calling you Mark now. Like,
you better not. That better be the last time I hear it. Take my basketball and go home, son.
That's gonna stick.
Today, they're gonna be out here playing with that Pizza Hut basketball.
Yeah, straight up. Oh, I love y'all, man. I love this show. All right, moving right along. My guy, AC Reynolds alum, Rico, 1,000-yard rushing, second year in a row, Brad. I tell you what, Brad, it makes it difficult. This is It makes it difficult, Brad. Give me your early thoughts.
My people asking me left and right, bro. Do you and John really have that much faith in Jonathan Brooks? And I'm like, listen, I mean, the kid has no arthritis. He has, other than, the repair of the ligament damage that he suffered tearing it, no long-term effects. There was no need for any microfracture, anything like that. Taking the whole year off. What he was, I think the kid can be productive for us. Mm-hmm. But also, Trevor Etienne can catch out of the backfield.
Yes.
He's a patient runner. He has
Yep.
speed. He's done really well in returns
Yeah.
when they don't call phantom, bullshit like Bryson Tremaine was lined up wrong. So nonsense like that. I mean, dude has done really, really well. And just can you put 70 million in your running back position and have, 2 draft picks just riding the pine? Can you do that? Or do you move on from Chuba? I mean, like I said before, Brant Tills set it up to where it's not a huge thing for us to get out from under the Chuba contract.
Au contraire.
But I'm okay with, if, like I said, get what we can, whatever we're going to do this year. I'm okay with letting the guy walk, because paying running backs and then paying 2 running backs, like, this isn't 2006. I just don't think you can do that.
Yeah. So if you were to, like, here's my thought. I don't see a world where you have a second round draft pick. If we just made all this noise about Excel and draft hierarchy, then that conversation matters just as much as anything else, regardless of what we've seen production-wise based on injury or whatever, right? So that being said, unless you are going to take the gamble of moving on from him, which if you do, and this kid turns out to be Jonathan Taylor or somebody of the like, then yeah, I would be pissed, right? But if we look at Chuba, so Chuba's base salary $3.9 million, signing at 1.5. Now, the question is, what is the dead cap hit? If you're not going to do this. I'm throwing this out here, right? The dead cap hit pre-June 1st is obviously what it is. We're not even going to look at that. But if you were to trade him, right, that's still a $6 million. Pre-June 1st, it's a $6 million hit. Post-June 1st, then it turns into a $1 million hit, right? But that is late, man. That's a late decision. And unfortunately, you are not going to have that luxury, because as soon as this season is over, if I'm Rico's agent, what we doing? This is what's on the table. This is what we need. 2,000-yard rushing seasons. One, I didn't even do it in a full season. Some of these games were phenomenal. And not for nothing, you said something just a few moments ago, Brad. You talked about Robert Hunt coming back. That will make things interesting, because Robert Hunt is an excellent run blocker. And I think that he's part of the reason that this run game has kind of taken a step back. So if you get him back down the stretch, let's say against Tampa, or, I mean, his practice window's open, his 21-day practice window. So you might see him against Seattle, right? Especially if you go into the playoffs. If you're a team that can run the ball how Carolina ran it early in the year in the playoffs, you're going to win some games. I didn't say a game, some games.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you do that, and now things get even more interesting. So like I said, you're just not going to have the luxury of time, though, because he's going to get paid right away. So then you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what do we do? And I'll be honest with you, I'm not smart enough to answer that question. But I gave my take. Dunk put me in a corner, would not let me say anything in context. He just said yes or no. Is he back next year? My answer was no, because I just don't see how you make it work. But you know what? There's a guy who came from Kansas City who signed a $500 million deal for their quarterback and somehow held together a roster that made 3 Super Bowls after the fact. So if there's anybody that can do it, it's him.
Well, but also, too, I mean, we provide context on this show, and I'll be honest, Rico can't do for us what Patrick Mahomes does for Kansas City.
Exactly. I agree.
So
I agree with that. But I still think, though, that you have a very interesting circumstance here, because you could make an argument for both. The only thing is you just, this is one of those situations where you got to be sure. You got to be sure. And I probably would, and this sucks for me because there probably ain't too many people in this fan base that want Rico to be on this team more than me. Right? I just don't know, because of the storyline. It is. I mean, it's incredible. just yesterday, there was so our high school football chant, good, better, best, has become the Chicago Bears chant. And to see Coach Bobby Poss, to see Coach Shane Laws, on TV, all this Reynolds alum just surrounding the NFL right now, and to have one here at home, fascinating. Fascinating. Especially
And
when I was hoping we could get Ben, right? And then he ended up going to Chicago. But the fact that we actually do have an alum, is really cool. We had an Asheville High alum as well last year, Iku Leota. I don't know where he is now, but he made the roster last year, played. And I was actually kind of surprised that they let Iku Leota go. But, regardless. Just that portion of it right there is, for me, the reason why I would love to see him here. But the reality of the situation is I just don't see how it works from a number perspective, because there's no way, and nor should he after 2 1,000-yard seasons sign a minimal deal to stick around here just because it being home. No. Go get your money, man. And if it is us that gives it, cool. If it's not, cool too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is like, and to add to that, I mean, he represents both states. I mean, he's had residency in, both states, one Carolina. The guy runs hard, and he's such a cerebral guy. I mean, the way he calls out plays, and he's like, listen, they've been doing this. They have a tendency to do that to Isaac. And then, that turning into, a 40-yard almost touchdown against Dallas. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, just the plays that they have ran, like 2 or 3 that have just been like the toss, the jet sweep, like those are things that they implemented because of Rico Dowdle, not because of the offensive coordinator or because of the head coach. But I mean, let's be for real, man. Like 2-3 years ago, Derrick Henry sat on the open market to like almost the end of free agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, would you say Rico was Derrick Henry good?
No, but I also don't think that, some of that could have also been what you've done in the league, what kind of contract you were looking for. Because Derrick's getting a much different contract than Rico's going to get. And Derrick has got much different representation. And those conversations are a lot different when between agents and, the front office than they would be for Rico as well. Especially because, Rico was a 1-year guy.
And he's much older.
Yes. He is older, but still the production. And we see it. Derrick Henry is a lot of the reason that they even have the, wins that they have. Baltimore has, and a lot of it's been injuries and stuff, but I feel like they're going to blow that whole thing up, man. They're going to blow that whole thing, strip it down to the studs, maybe even possibly including Harbaugh.
Yeah, they're about done with him up there. It's a lot of the same stuff we're seeing with Mike Tomlin. But I see that these guys, the devaluation of the running back, and then if you look at next year's draft, that kid that just declared out of Notre Dame, he's a home run hitter. You know what I mean? Like there are guys that are coming out in the draft that you can take anywhere from, late first all the way to early 5th, just like this past season.
Yeah.
Who are home run hitters.
Yeah.
And they're going to cost you nothing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or on the scale of drafting, you know what I'm saying? Like you still have to pay them like whatever position their draft pick, but like whatever that salary that coincides with that pick in that round. But yeah, you compare that to a free agency deal of a 2-time 1,000-yard back. Some may even choose not to go that route. So it's a lot that goes into that. But like I said, Brooks has 2 more years on his rookie contract. You've got Chuba on a pretty much team-friendly deal for a guy who had 1,000 yards rushing, last year. And then you got Trevor Etienne, who, like I said, and people forget about Brooks' skill set. The kid can catch out of the backfield.
He sure
He's
can.
a real good pass blocker. So yeah, I feel like we're not even backed into a corner with it. Like I feel like that'll be an easy decision. Um, and I will be surprised if they try to find a way to keep him here.
Yeah, and I know some people are objected to this in the chat already. First, I'll highlight these two comments. Shaky 8AN said, "Yep, we're putting our eggs in the Brooks basket." And then Chris Dillard, I agree with him as well. He says, "Not saying I wouldn't want Rico back, but man, I'm so interested to see what a healthy Brooks looks like in this offense." And yeah, I mean, you saw a glimpse of it last year against Tampa. You know, Bryce Young getting pressured, kind of swings out right to him. You know, he catches one, in kind of screen sort of fashion, and takes it quite a few yards. And not for nothing, man, have you seen him? He ain't no little guy, man. I seen him yesterday on the sideline standing next to Rico. He taller than Rico with the helmet on. Like, Brooks is not a small. No, Jonathan Brooks.
Oh no, Brooks. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
Brooks is a power back.
He's a bruiser. Yeah.
I mean, he weighs 230 pounds.
Yeah. So he's dynamic for his size. So I'll say that, man. And so yeah, I'm interested. But I think and you don't. I know some people would object to this, and that's cool. Based on what not being available yesterday, or look, you don't really have much of a choice. You're not going to find a better option than Ikem Ekwonu on the open market. Get it done. Get that contract done quickly.
No, I feel that.
Yeah, get it out the way. Move on to whatever's next. But and like I said, I know some people may object to that, but that's my thought. There's no way I'm letting that one linger out there at all. But anyway, Brad, let's go around the NFL, man.
That's why the Eagles are where they're at now.
Yeah.
I mean, they pay their guys early. And the thing is, you pay them and get that out of the way. And then, by the end of the free agency period, there will be another team who will take them from being the highest paid down to, fourth or fifth. So I'm with you on that. Get that out of the way.
Yes, sir. Brad, you ready to cringe?
Let's do it to it, Lars.
All right. This, I ain't gonna lie, dog. This is, I mean, you seeing it already. You seeing all the pictures. This is, dog. This looks wild. Like, look at Brandon Marshall. Like, fam, look at where your hands are, and look at her. This is at the Jake Paul fight. You talking about awkward, boy. I'm gonna run this back again.
Awkward.
Playmaker, he crazy, man.
It's about boxing, right? It's about boxing. Oh, yeah, it's about boxing. All of that. But you gotta throw that you up in there.
Dog, look at Brandon Marshall's hands right here.
It's about boxing. All of that. But you gotta throw that you up in there too. Who do we have for the main event? Jake or Joshua?
Man, I seen the you ever seen that Emmitt Smith roast? And it was Chris Williams. He was on stage and he was talking to like Michael Irvin, a whole bunch of people in the crowd, and then Jamie Foxx started roasting him. And he was like, "Where is he right now?"
Yeah. That was another joke that tanked.
Yeah, he was like, "We're here for Emmitt. Do you have any jokes for him this evening?" Or whatever. But Chris Williams, before he started dogging on Emmitt, he was like, "Mike, where the hoes at?" And then they showed Michael Irvin, and he was over there doing the same thing. That whole, like this when he was laughing. I'm like, "Dog, this dude is nuts." But
did you see him crawling on the sideline at the Miami game?
Yeah, he was lit. Yeah. But buddy,
he is he lives inside his own heart. You know what I mean?
And that's an awful big place to live.
You know what I'm saying?
You know that boy lives inside his own heart.
That's crazy, man. That is crazy.
ESPN, will it to me, Riggs? Exactly.
Yeah.
You knew exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was crazy, man. Shador Sanders, man. Shador, he played okay yesterday. Some parts, but it also was, little shaky. What you think, man? You think they gonna? I don't know if he'll be the. I don't think he's gonna be the quarterback there next year. I think it's probably gonna be. My guess is he's gonna be on somebody else's roster. My question is, in relation to us, would you object
if he came to Arjun to be a backup?
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's to me, like I said, I mean, it's a circus, but it's not a kind of circus to me. I feel that it's disruptive. I mean, all Prime does is show up to his games and root for his son. It's not any real, kind of thing where he's objectively, openly being disruptive or dismissive or disrespectful to Stefanski. So I don't think it would be any different here. But I mean, he was a 5th round draft pick. Like, they've got him under contract for 4 years. Do you think they're going to outright cut him?
No, I think that I think the plan, unless Stefanski is out the door, which, man, what a fall from grace. Wherever he goes,
right?
Stefanski calls a different brand of offense than I would, and obviously Dave Canales ain't giving up play calling. I'm done having that conversation. I know I've argued about it at times when things, look like from a tactical perspective and an organizational perspective, like just making sure that you're aware of all surroundings at all times during like timeouts and, end of game situations or going into halftime situations, 2-minute, all that kind of stuff. I have my problems with that. But as far as a play caller is concerned, I don't necessarily have a problem with Dave Canales, the play caller, right? Because he is willing to adapt to things when he gets new information. So he's not stubborn. That is the opposite of Kevin Stefanski, because that's why I've argued that I don't think Watson's career is necessarily over, because Watson never fit that style of offense. There's very little RPO. It's all West Coast. It's really, Shador actually fits what he does really well because Shador is more of a pocket guy, right? But I don't know. I don't think he's going to withstand just the turmoil of this season. And a lot of it will be because I don't think the guys are all bought in with him anymore. And he's a hell of a coach. That's the crazy thing. Like, I think he's been coach of the year at least. I know once, maybe even twice, right? So, yeah. But like I said, what a fall from grace, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, all the shine is worn off. And I mean, as far as coaches are concerned, I mean, you got to be honest, like, he is really, really shit the bed on this whole Shador thing. I mean, he was put in a horrible position with the way, like, you draft a quarterback in the 3rd and then turn around. A quarterback you're excited about in Dylan Gabriel. I don't really understand why you'd be excited about that, but he was excited about Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd. Yeah. And then they take Shador in the 5th. And, they had Kenny Pickett. He's a bum. Flacco's old. I mean, I get it. It wasn't a great situation, but the things he's done with the kid not getting any meaningful reps in practice, to benching him on the 2-point conversion after he led the comeback, like, that just looks really bad. And your team is, y'all are still garbage, even though you've got the best defensive player in football.
Yeah.
So,
yep. One of the best ever, might I add.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam Darnold is also playing well. Just to throw that in there.
Yeah, let's see if he turns back into a pumpkin next Sunday. I mean, I'm hoping for that. You can keep rooting for him, but I'd like for him to turn into the same old Darnold.
When Sam, with the late game heroics, which no doubt that Thursday, that was a game of the year. That Thursday game was game of the year. But with his late game heroics, I tweeted same Darnold. And I think people thought I was taking a shot. I'm like, I'm taking a shot at somebody, all right, but it ain't who you think. But
it should have been. They knew.
Yeah, they don't know. I was taking a shot at Mark. But anyway, shout out to my boy. Yeah, my boy Mark. Shout out to Steve 0704. Look, Steve O got it figured out, man. He got it all figured out. And he says, game yesterday was amazing. But then he's got the GM plan. Trade XL for a linebacker or a defensive end or draft capital. Sign Rico, front-loaded incentives. Pick up Bryce's 5th and sign Icky. This team is an edge linebacker safety away from sustainable success. I don't disagree with that. I disagree. I have a difference of opinion on some of the signings and the trading stuff, but I don't disagree with the last point you made, was that this team is an edge linebacker and a safety away from sustainable success. I think you can have sustainable success with Nick Scott, believe it or not. I think you'd have sustainable success with Trevin Wallace, but I do not think you can have sustainable success without constant pressure at the edge position. So I think that's very important, because everything else will work off of the pressure. And we saw that yesterday when they pressured. Hey, look, EJ dialed it up a couple of times. Now, a couple of times it bit him in the ass, because a few times, Trevin Wallace, kind of got log jammed and, you got ran by on a blitz. A couple of times Rose boomed. Now, Rose got home too. Rose got a sack. Rose got home a couple of times, but it was a few times when he blitzed and, him and Ashawn. I saw Ashawn on a stunt run right past Baker. Baker took off.
Oh, man. He got on the last drive where he ran for super slow too, just running for 40 yards, looking like Kyler Murray's older brother, them little legs. I was like, somebody please.
He did look wild when he was running too. That was funny. Yeah. But yeah, man, so but I think that there's a lot of moves you can make, but I think that you keep, the beautiful thing is that you don't have like contracts that you're absolutely buried in either. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, Taylor Moton's contract, is $19 million signing bonus going into next year. His cap number is $23 million. That's your biggest. Derek's is 19, 14 for Damian, 10 for Bryce. Even though you're gonna pick up that 5th-year option, you're not paying Bryce yet. So you don't, and that's the luxury of that too. Like, Bryce is not gonna get, and this is where you really could build a juggernaut around him offensively and defensively too. Based on production over the last couple of years, and even though, yes, he's had a much better season, we're still looking at a sub 3,000 yard passer. Now, he ain't far away, and I think he's going to get it. And the thing, what I love is that 21 touchdowns and 9 picks, love that. But where he is puts you in a position where Bryce ain't going to sign the $60, $65 million. I mean, there's going to be quarterbacks out here like the Drake Mays. I mean, he's not, obviously due yet, but who's the next like big quarterback contract, Brad, that you would say?
I would say it was Drake. It would be Drake May. I mean, you think about Kansas City, they paid
no, CJ
Mahomes after year 3.
Yeah, but Drake ain't up yet, because Drake, it's just year 2 for Drake. It would be CJ.
That's what I'm saying. Mahomes wasn't up until year 5, but they paid him after year 3.
They paid him.
So I'm wondering if that's going to become the norm.
It might.
I mean, hasn't Jacksonville already paid Lawrence?
Lawrence, and he's there's another one playing like he's playing right now. Hey, look, Jacksonville look like they can win the Super Bowl this year, and they just might, right? So, I mean, that's another team right there. Josh, that's another re-up deal potentially in the next year or two. So there's going to be quarterbacks out here making, 65, dare I say, $70 million a year. You know what I'm saying? Bryce ain't going to be nowhere near that. Bryce is going to be in that 35, 40, maybe 45 range, which will be a fair deal for someone who's still kind of developing, right? It'll be probably incentive laden, but yeah, look, playing like he's playing right now. The thing that I always like to say is this, is like, I understand that people want to have, this quarterback play that is like otherworldly, right? We got spoiled because of what we had for so many years with Newton. It's not the norm. The norm is around the Lawrence, Bryce, that kind of situation. That's more the norm. So that contract, now I'll tell you this, that $45 million or $40 to $45 million could change drastically if we get into the playoffs and he win a playoff game. That changes everything. You know what I'm saying? Because now, sure, CJ Stroud might have got there a couple of times, but you could look across the table and be like, his situation was far more advantageous for him to be able to, do what he did versus here. So if you're representation or whatever. Now, I may not agree with that, but hey, look, like I said, you and I talked about it, Brad, when we talked about, I can't remember what we were mentioning before we got on camera, talking about a deal. But like, if I'm representation, when I'm, talking about these deals, I could care less what you think it should be. I'm telling you what it is. He's had this for this period of time, this right here, and then I'm giving that compared to the field. What has the field showed? Has the field thrown pro 65%, or Has the field had only this amount of, interceptions? Has the field won a playoff game, right? Lamar got his big deal. Has he won many playoff games? No. So,
right.
If I'm representation, whether or not I agree with it as a content creator and fan is different than what the representation is going to say when they're sitting down in the room across the table from you. So I did want to show you something else too, man. I wanted to talk about this. This was crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Did you see this last night? DK Metcalf.
That was when I was going to bring it up. Yeah, swinging on the fan with the blue hair at the Lions game was crazy.
So this is more of and Steve, I'll get to your super chat in just a second. But this is more of somebody filming this. You did that. Good God, look how he grabbed him. Boom. Wow. Hey, look, bro. It's some people in life, Brad. Being my size sometimes invites you and me are close to the same height. I think I might. No, I'm not gonna say that because Miss Douglas, I told you I'm trying to grow up, so I'm trying to avoid pausable moments. So I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. We are close in height. It invites sometimes unnecessary tension, depending on places that you're in. I told a story last week about how I was I was bouncing in a club in downtown Boone. Geno's is where it was. I'm sure you're familiar with Geno's. And a running back that was very popular on the team just kept like grilling me the whole time. And I was prepared to fight him outside because I'm like, well, he keeps looking at me. A drink got thrown on me, and I'm like, well, clearly he wants to fight, right? And I'm gonna give him all he's asking for, right? But it didn't happen, and I'm glad it didn't happen because it would have been more foolish of me. Because I think it's important for you in life to control your emotions, especially when you look like DK. Because even as a man my size, if a physical specimen at this age now with kids and health issues, if he's coming at me, I'm exercising my Second Amendment right. I'm not fighting DK. I'm not trying to die. You saw what happened to Jake this weekend. That's what would have happened to me. Not happening. No, sir. Now, it's not going to happen in a controlled environment like this. But, dog, you can't do that. You cannot. Especially, I don't care if the man, apparently, like, DK was trying to say the man called him a racist name or something, right? I don't know. I just know you can't do that. Cannot.
Yeah, I mean, I would liken it to the, Vernon Maxwell, who's, making the rounds now, and everyone is a big fan of the way he talks and his very serious nature. And this is storytelling, but there was a time in, the mid 90s, and they were at a game and he had a loss, and a fan brought that loss up and said it. And I mean, he went to go get him, you know what I mean? And at times that happens. I mean, who can forget the Malice in the Palace, where, these fans can't say what they want, but you've got to know as a player, if you go get them, there's going to be adverse consequences because you are bigger, you are stronger, you are, someone who, throw all this sports stuff out the window, would definitely be feared, on the street because of your size and, strength and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're the modern day gladiators, you know what I'm saying? And like, people don't want to feel like they're in danger when they come to watch the sport. And that's good for the people that act like they have some sense. But former athlete like that, you hear stuff people say and they feel like they can tell you and say anything out the way and run their mouth. And I mean, I, dislike Duke as much as the next person, but the kind of stuff they used to say about like JJ Redick's sister and his grandmother, like that's just out of line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some, guy who hasn't played football past elementary school in a blue wig at a Detroit game saying something to DK Metcalf, you just got to let it go, man, because they're going to make an example. This is the first time this has happened in a long time, and they're going to make an example out of him.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, the closest thing we saw to this was, gosh, would it have been the Ron situation, where like you literally have a player and a fan? I mean, I can't think of anything beyond that at this point. So,
well, I mean, you remember the Green Bay game where in 2015, where the people had their Green Bay signs set up, and Cam went and snatched it, and the guy said that he was trying to grab his flag back, and Cam pulling it sliced his hand open. He needed medical attention, and I mean, they're just waiting for you to do something like this. So that's like kind of the last one I've heard, or I can remember.
Yeah, gotta be more careful, man. Salute to DK.
Guys.
T's and P's. Anyway, so super chat, Steve-O. This is the last one we'll read. We're gonna get out of here. Steve-O says, versus Seattle, should they be run heavy or let Bama Bryce sling it? I'll give my thoughts on that, and I'd like to hear from you, Brad. My opinion is, hey, whatever the outcome of the game says, right? I do think that there's still a bit of them holding back a little bit on the playbook, but at the same time, that could be, those limitations could exist. I gave my whole rant about not working the middle of the field as much. That could be because of your personnel. It also could be because of your quarterback. I guess I don't watch enough to know, like, and of course we're not in those rooms, so we don't know what those meetings look like. But I saw even yesterday a couple of times where, on third down, there was a big Chuba Hubbard third down run where he picked up a first down. I've seen in the past where Dave Canales right there would allow Bryce to kind of, hey, go make something happen or whatever. And I feel like you control the tempo and control the game a lot more when you make a decision like that, right? And you don't do that. So, I like the balance personally, but I would like to see us favor heavy the run, especially if the practice window for Rob being opened, if he's back, then yes, I would be heavily reliant on the run. And salute to Steve-O for another super chat. But before I read it, I'm going to let Brad respond to what you just said.
Well, I mean, it's what they set up to do. We played New Orleans. New Orleans has the kind of defensive line that's going to give you trouble when you don't have your all-pro right guard. You know what I mean? Seattle, they have a very good defensive line. They've got some beef on the interior, but they also, they're a little light on the edge. They can be ran on, but they're a team we could pass on. I mean, Matthew Stafford threw for, 400, damn near 400 yards on them. I mean,
Yeah.
And that's not with a competent run game. With our run game and our ability to work in the play action, the QB waggles and rollouts, we'll be able to do some stuff, down the field.
Yeah.
But we are a run-first team, so in every game, we need to try to at least establish the run and to pivot what we do in the passing game off of that. So, yes.
I would agree. Steve-O also said with another $4.99 super chat, he said, "What's up with the refs not giving us any calls, but they call everything against us?" I said this yesterday. I think I tweeted something similar to this, where I talked about how it feels like the league hates us, man, because we really don't. You're right. We don't really get a lot of calls. they don't bode well in our favor. I'll say that. Where was it at? Let's see. Yeah, I said the league really hate us for real. You know, this was coming off of the PI call against J.C. Horn on the 3rd down, right? There was a big PI call, which really even Mark Slayer said it wasn't PI. You know, but it set up a potential scoring drive for them, like a touchdown scoring drive, and they, you know, we still held them though, and they only got 3 points out of it. But you know, hey, look, those kind of calls, we saw this against, you know, the Rams, man. That backwards pass, forward, whatever it was you want to, you know, say, and got picked up in the end zone, and that changed the game. That could, I mean, a call yesterday against Detroit. I mean, in Detroit, that call on the offensive pass interference on Tesla, you know, that changed. Detroit lost that game. Detroit could not make the playoffs off of that game alone. You know what I'm saying? Pittsburgh, man. I mean, now it's more of a dogfight for the first seed in that division in the North as a result of that call. You know, more separation for them. But if they don't call that offensive PI in the end zone, then you know that's a different situation for them too. So, yeah, it's just it's a lot, man. So, but I mean, I don't want to be the conspiracy theory guy. I'd hate to do that, but it's hard not to see some of this stuff sometimes. Like the refs kind of make themselves the story, and it's frustrating, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, and you got guys. I mean, I remember guys like Hockley and Blakeman, and I can never remember the name of the brother that used to be super hardcore with the animation. He'd be like holding defense. You know what I'm talking about with the mustache. He like you miss those guys now because they weren't the center of attention. I mean, they would talk about how Hockley had been in the weight room or stuff like that, but as far as the calls, different things they did, I mean, compared to now where it's, you know, 11 penalties. And you know, and yesterday, because I seen some of that online and people were saying, well, you know, in the end, it was 8-5. Tampa Bay got more penalties called than us. But like I said, only a moron looks at it inside of a vacuum. It's when you call them. And that guy, you know, T-Mac having to wear that cornerback like a shirt all the way down the field, that you got to call that, especially if you're going to turn around and call one where Baker throws it out of the back of the end zone. And pretty much I've grown up watching cornerbacks basically, other than blatant holds, when you hit guys with the jam at the line of scrimmage, you can do what you want for 5 yards. So I'm not understanding. Like I said, that was just a bad bogus call to me. And it's when they make the calls. So we got away with the Yimon, you know, hold. But other than that, you know, when they make those calls are so big. And it was just in that New Orleans game, they had 2 drives and, you know, they won 20-17. So that's 14 points. 2 of their drives, they would have been punts if it wouldn't have been for just bogus, badly timed calls.
Yeah. Agreed.
And they shut down a couple of our drives. So it's been around the league and people are noticing. Yep. I mean, there are a lot of content creators. There are a lot of articles. There are a lot of people who have, you know, weekly TV shows, Cowherd, those. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There are people that are watching and seeing how these refs are influencing the game. And hopefully we can go back to the drawing board in the off season with the NFL and, you know, wrangle some of that. Just basically, they don't have to wrangle back like control, but like there needs to be a way to go to the, you know, the referee officiating association and be like, listen, there's got to be some accountability for bad reffing.
Yes. You know, I had a sponsorship earlier in the year for a app called Penalty Verdict, where and I know it's just kind of, you know, one of those things now where you can just go in and like, you know, type in, you know, hey, I got to issue and object, you know, some of these calls, but like in the grand scheme of things, like, you know, it's not something that's going to be like league mandated that, hey, let's go look at Penalty Verdict and see what some schmuck said in, you know, in Quebec about, you know, the last call we just saw from the Kansas City game. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be something that happens overtime. But yeah, I do believe that league meetings will happen this year, and there will be. You gotta. I mean, I don't know if it's because there's certain crews that just call the game a lot tighter. You know, I saw that floating around before we played this game that this crew specifically calls the game, very tight as far as like defensive DPI, or whatever. And clearly we saw that. Some will call holding calls, or one of the things that I'm starting to hate seeing is like drives that will literally get flipped because somebody was lined up in the neutral zone on a kick, on a field goal or something, right? And it'll be just like the smallest little inch, man. And I think Shao got hit for that yesterday, right? And so it's just you were literally,
That
like I
was
said,
last week.
huh?
That was last week where he kept lining up in the neutral zone. Yesterday was where they called the putting weight on the back of the long snapper on Ashawn Robinson.
Hey, Sean, that's right. Yeah.
And all he did, and you could tell once he was blocked into the kicker, into the long snapper, he just stood there. He didn't try to advance anymore. He just put his hand up, and they still called it and gave them 15 yards. I mean, that's just, it's asinine.
It is, man. Steve, don't send no more super chats. I'm getting out of here, man. All right, so
one mo for the one mo.
but we very much appreciate you. So, Brad, give us the last word, man. Take us out of here.
Well, it's kind of disheartening to see that the Dolphins have punted on their season, because I do feel like a Tua-led team could give this team trouble. I mean, they have trouble covering tight ends, and, Waller's down there doing big-time work. They have, a lot of speed at running back, and their defense is not too terrible. I mean, they do miss the Phillips guy they traded away. But anybody's going to be at the bank, bring that same electricity, that same energy that was there yesterday. I mean, the false starts, there were penalties on them because of the noise. Tampa Bay was rattled in certain, different, plays, certain different, sets. I mean, and the crowd just made a huge difference. And on top of that, 3 more weeks. I got this Baker to take. I'm about to unload. So just stay tuned and keep pounding.
We didn't even get there, but we'll talk about that. I should have a little bit, but I'm not gonna really go there, man. But you said it, man. If you come to the bank, you're gonna get spanked. Hey, Miss Douglas, pause. I tried. Either way, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe button, bell notification so you never miss a video. This has been another episode of Mint Street Mondays. We will see y'all next Monday after we clip Seattle. Y'all already know what time it is. Appreciate y'all. Keep pounding.
Same Darnold.